Hey, hey!
Hello.
Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Thought podcast where we're talking about issues you're probably thinking about. My name is Lynette.
And my name is Z.
And welcome to another episode. Today, after talking about, our parenting and all the things that we talked about, and if you haven't watched, listen to, we are getting there with the watching.
Yes.
But if you haven't listened to the parenting series that we just finished, go back and listen to. I keep saying watch because I'm like, we really want to bring out these videos, but go back and listen to them and let us know what you think about them. So today we're shifting gears a little bit and talking about a topic that one of our listeners mentioned a while ago. We kind of forgot about it, but we found it again and we were like, you know what, let's just talk about it and see where it goes with the conversation. So we're talking about childbearing and the choices that some may or may not want to have children, because there's this I guess there's this thought that everybody that may get married or even not may want children, right? And that's not necessarily true, right? And I think we need to take that into account, that not everybody wants children. So the question mainly was like, it wasn't a question, it was more like a statement. Let's discuss in the event that one individual or the other may not want children, then what? So we want to kind of have a discussion about that. Anything you want to add?
No, I mean, we can just jump right into it. Like for you, I guess the question that I would have is like, why did you choose to have children? Like, why did you decide that you have children?
I mean, I think I always wanted children. It's not something, and I can't even pinpoint where the desire came from. It was just like, I know I want to have kids, and I know that's it. So I think that was it for me. It's like when I got married, and when I got married, I was like, the next thing we were doing. I mean, we didn't even wait for very long to have kids. Like I think 6 months in, we were pregnant. Because I was sure, and we were both sure that we wanted kids. And then we just went ahead with it. But yeah, that was it for me. How about you?
Same. I don't actually know where, the idea. I felt like it is just because that's what one does, like you get married. Even that song, whoever is sitting in the tree, KISSING. First comes love, then comes marriage, then comes a baby, whatever.
The baby carriage,
So like we've known that song for the longest time. So I felt like it was just what we were supposed to do.
The conditioning.
Yeah, we were probably conditioned into just being like, okay, once you get married, you have children, you buy a house, and that's just what you do. So I never really thought about. I don't feel like I had like a burning desire to have children. You know what I mean? Like I just felt like this is what we're gonna do. And Quigo and I always wanted kids anyways. We always wanted 3 kids, even before we started dating. Like, not dating, before we got married, we knew that we wanted to have 3 kids.
Okay.
So as if whether we wanted them to happen right away or not, that's up for debate. But we did always want to have kids. But like I remember when I was working, I can't remember which government department I worked at, but I had a coworker that was telling me about one of her friends. They were engaged and they were literally going to get married like in 2 weeks. Like they're going for like a destination wedding. And then somehow the conversation of kids came up and one of them didn't want to have kids and the other one did. And then they ended up breaking off.
They were about to get married.
Like that makes, for me, like I remember when she told us the story, I was like, that makes no sense. I was like, how long were they dating that this conversation never came up? Like you propose to someone, but then sometimes like you watch all these movies and then sometimes the guy wants kids and the girl doesn't want kids. I feel like that wasn't like love.
Or maybe it wasn't like a deep conversation.
Or somebody thought that they could convince the other person to change their mind. It was the ultimatum. Did you watch the ultimatum on Netflix?
Yes, it was. I did.
It was like, I'll convince her to change her mind in order to have kids. You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, so I think maybe it was a situation like that where she was like, I'm definitely not having kids. And then after that, it was like, that's a deal breaker. And fair enough, right? Because the kids are such a huge commitment. So anyways, I sidetracked. But that was pretty much our story. And back to back, we just had kids. Didn't even think about, what are the implications of having kids? You know, it was after we had kids. But I was like,
Yeah, for me, I think going into it, like, and you saying that, you guys knew that you wanted 3. I think going into it for us, like Tony didn't necessarily have like a number, or I think he did. I think he said he wanted 3. And for me, I was like, never having had any kid. I was like 4.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Had 1, and then I was like,
what is going on here?
But after my first, I was like, I definitely want another one. For different reasons. I don't want Grace to be by herself. All the other things. Just like, no, I definitely want another. Yeah. But after Elsie, I was like, maybe let me just like think about this again. Yeah. And again, it comes down to like different factors coming down to like, okay, making that decision. Be like, it's quite expensive to have kids.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
It's not easy physically on the woman's body to have kids. And especially for us, it was back to back. So it's not an easy thing for you to carry. You know, pregnancy is fine or whatever. And I also had complications in both my pregnancies. So that also factored in. And like, I think right now I've come to the place where I can actually admit that I didn't really like the baby stage. Like, I didn't like it.
Which baby stage? Like the newborn,
tiny newborn stage to like 4 months. One, because like I just find it really boring.
Yeah. Like, let's be honest.
They're so boring. They're not doing anything. All you do is like breastfeed, eat, sleep, poop, eat, sleep, poop. And it's like that routine. I like now I've come to realize like I didn't really like it. Yeah. So that's another factor, right? So it's just like, you know, counting all the things that kind of make up the decision to like, okay, maybe I'm okay. Yeah. Right. But those are, I think, things that I'm thinking about now that I have kids, right? Whereas before having kids, I never really have thought about that, right? No. But granted that there are people who just don't have the desire for kids, right? And I think, especially from our culture, we have, again, this unspoken thing where it's like when you get married, the next thing is kids. As soon as, like, even like within our community, within our church, within our environment that we grew up in, or we even our church, the first time you get married, the first few weeks you're going to church, you guys are still in the honeymoon stage.
So when are the children coming?
So this one you're going to have number 1 very soon.
Why are you waiting?
Why are you waiting? You guys should just hurry up and do it.
You don't know. You don't know
what, right? And then like all of this kind of brings up like fear, brings up all kinds of, you know, things in your mind. And again, you also don't know what people are going through behind the scenes, because that's also a big factor, right? You don't know if somebody's having complications, fertility issues, or something's happening behind the scenes that you have no insight into. Those are factors, and then it's triggering for the person. You don't know what they're having to deal with. So all of these things, I think, especially within our community, there's some insensitivities there, right? And then when one decides that they do not want kids, you're almost questioned as to like, why would you not have kids? And then they bring up that scripture of God told us to multiply
and subdue the earth, and it's like, okay,
so there's a lot in that very verse. Okay, that doesn't just talk about childbearing, right? And then that's the hook that especially Christians just go to, like, why would you not have kids? Like why? You know, there's just logic for them just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So,
and I've even heard people say that people that don't want kids, you're being selfish.
How so though?
Selfish, and that's I actually don't even understand that. Like, what do you mean you're being selfish? Like, I guess because so some of the reasons why people say they don't want to have kids is because they like their time, right?
Right.
And perfectly honestly, when I hear that, I'm like, more strength to you. Like, at least you recognize that children take up a lot of time. You know, like, oh gosh, we'll go through the reasons. At some point we'll go through the reasons why people say they don't want to have kids. But like, one of them is the fact that kids take up a lot of time. And so somebody that says that they don't want to have kids because they want their time, like, sometimes they're like, oh, you're just being selfish, like selfish with their time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know, and that's I think it's very, again, if you're a Christian, like, obviously, like, be on the same page with God, but at the same time, it's also like, it's okay to be honest with yourself as to where you are as an individual. Do you want to bring kids into the world, and then, yes, kids are great, they're fine, and you're probably gonna love them regardless, but there are some parents that are not doing a great job.
No, but usually those parents that aren't doing a great job is most likely because they had really terrible childhoods as well.
There's that. So, there's that aspect of it, right? So there's that, but there's also, I think what I'm trying to say is, like, if you know that you don't want to have kids, but the only reason that you had them was because of the pressure, that isn't a good reason to have kids.
No, it's not.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if somebody is just saying, oh, Z, I have a fourth, and you're just like, okay, sure, I guess that's the number that I should be at. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is a human being. This is not something you just pick from the store and when it's ruined, you throw out.
Yeah. Or when you're tired of it, you
exactly.
return it.
This is a person you have to take into account their emotions, what they need, what they like, what they dislike. And that's a big responsibility to just throw a caution to the wind and just be like, I'm just gonna have a kid.
Yeah.
And not think about any of those things, right? And again, I come to the fact that, like, I'm thinking about these things now that I've had kids. And one may say that, oh, the person that may not want to have kids hasn't had the chance to think about all these things through. But there's an innate desire that kind of couples with you wanting to have kids, right? Just like there's a desire for anything, right? There's something internal that kind of pushes you towards having kids, you know.
I'm trying to think of that. Yeah, I'm wondering if I had that. Yes, I did. Of course I did.
It's like there's an inclination.
There was a desire. Like, so that I'm like, okay, so, you know, when if somebody comes to ask you, why should I have kids? What would you tell them?
I guess I would be telling them from my experience, right? So, like, I always wanted to be a mom. I love children, like, period. That's also something that was like, I want my own, because I love children.
Right.
So those would be the factors that I would be bringing to the table, as opposed to anything else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I know an individual who, like, started out, I think she is not married, but she doesn't desire to have kids. She just doesn't want to. And over the years, it hasn't shifted. Like, her thinking about it has not shifted. And I think, just like anything, if you people have choices in anything, right? So if you're able to come to this decision that I do not want this thing because maybe I might not be good at it, or I might not be able to take care of the child well enough, or whatever. There's even parents who have a hard time, and I know it has a lot to do with a lot of things, bonding with the kid with a child right away after. Have a hard time bonding right away, and it takes time. right? So for somebody who says, I do not want it at all, and then coupled with the factor that like after the kid, they're not even able to bond with it, then it almost kind of solidifies it for them that I shouldn't have had, you know? Yeah. So I think what I'm really trying to say is that do not be, especially like within our community, do not be pressured, right? If you haven't gotten there yet, right? To just have kids. Again, these are huge responsibilities to just kind of like go with the flow. You really can't do that. Right? So I don't know, that's my thinking around it. Just like anything, you have a choice to do it or to not do it. Right?
I feel like for me, I would tell someone this concept of legacy. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's why it makes sense why people want children. Like, for example, like even all these like billionaire families, like Elon Musk, how many kids? I think he has like 9 kids.
Spreading his seed.
He's spreading his seed. But like the major billionaire families, like one of the things I remember reading somewhere, must have been Instagram, like, and obviously you can't use Instagram as truth, but it was there. They're talking about like how millionaires and billionaires, especially when they have family-owned businesses, like kids are a big part of that because they're passing down the business and the legacy onto the children so that the name lives on. Like case in point, Rockefeller family. I don't even know any other family. Johnson and Johnson, for example, like that. Those businesses have gone not necessarily from Mike Johnson to Mike Zuckerberg, but like Mike Johnson to Serena Johnson to this. It's like, so that's one of the reasons. Long money, that generational money. You know what I mean? So if you are thinking along the lines of like leaving a mark on this earth in that way, you know, children is one of the good ways. And funny enough, segue, one of the conversations. So when I went to Nigeria, it was 2 years ago. No, was it last year? 2022. Yeah, 2022, November. It was like sort of like a mini family reunion. It was like my siblings and my parents and maybe an uncle, auntie, 2 cousins and stuff. And we're having this conversation about legacy because we were going for my dad's send-off. He was leaving Nigeria to go to Kenya, and so the organization was doing a send-off. And we came like, it was just a send-off, but we came like all the Sangigas, we were like 20 strong, coming to support my dad, you know. And during all the speeches and stuff like that, they kept referring to us as the Sanginga clan, the clan. And, you know, one of the evenings, my dad was asking, like, he was really thinking about it. He was like, why do they keep referring to us as a clan? You know, and then somehow the conversation came up about legacy. Like, what sort of legacy is the Sangingas leaving on this earth? You know, because like my family, they're really big on agriculture and business and stuff. So when you go back to, I'll say Africa because they're everywhere, like you meet a Sanginga, chances are they're involved in agriculture. You know, so like when I think about it in that sense, when it's like my dad is leaving a legacy, even my siblings, like 3 out of 4 of us are involved in agriculture. I'm the odd one out. And then even their children, I'm pretty sure like they're already trying to talk to them about agriculture and blah, 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 blah. So when we think big picture thinking about children and legacy, it's like, okay, you're leaving these children on this earth to make an impact or to leave your legacy on this earth so that your name will be remembered, I guess, you know? And so I think like when I think about it that way, I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense for why people would want to have children, right? Because if you don't, it just kind of stops there
with you. Yeah.
And like I guess you have to be comfortable with that. Like if you're like, I'm fine, like I don't need, and that's fine.
Basically.
Exactly, right? So, but if you think that this legacy is important, I guess you could also leave your legacy by like, I don't know, establishing some sort of foundation, and you'll go on and on and on. Oprah, perfect example. But then she has her girls in South Africa, her school, and she calls them her girls, but they're not actually her children.
Exactly.
So there you go. So Oprah is a perfect reason for why people, if you don't want to have kids, she's fine. She's happy.
Yeah, she's fine. Yeah. Like I think when it comes to
apparently,
I mean,
we don't know.
We don't know things out, but I don't know. I still have this thinking that like if you I know there's people that we talked about this in previous podcasts about marriage, right? That's also a choice, right? Right. So if you have like Paul says in Corinthians that if ideally be like me, like don't get married because of so you can serve God with everything you have. So in that, like you're seeing that it's a choice that you get to make, right?
And you can also apply it to not having children. Because children take up a lot of bandwidth. Time. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. They take like we were just discussing. You come home, you have to take your kids, do this, take a bath. All of the things that you're doing, that are taking away from the time that you might have had even when you got married, right? So in that, I'm just like, if you're not 100% that you do want to have kids, then you might want to pay attention to that, right? I don't think just because culture says you must have kids, but the desire is not there to have them. Right. I get legacy. I get passing down something to somebody, or I get that. But I think children are not the only way that you can do that. Yeah,
that's true.
Right. Yeah. So if one decides that they don't want to have kids, it shouldn't be something that should be, they should be made to feel bad about, or and again, there's also other factors of they may not be able to have kids.
That's true.
There's that aspect, right?
But I think that doesn't necessarily apply to someone not wanting because it's choice as opposed to wanting.
But I just feel like there shouldn't be any shame attached to a person who decides that they don't want to have kids, because there's other things that, again, because ultimately it's about God, right? So if how are you serving God with just you as an individual, right? So it may just so happen that you're not even meant to have kids, right? Or you're not even meant to have that because of the purpose that you have, that God has given you. So I just think that there's so many aspects to it, that just to say that, by virtue of you being married, you must have children. Right?
Why don't we go through our list and see what was some of the reasons why some people choose not to have kids, and what do we think about those?
So we found an article on Psychology Today that stresses 11 points as to reasons why some may not want kids. The first being no desire to have kids. We've talked about that. Career.
That's a big one.
That's a huge one.
Yeah, especially for women.
Yeah. Because today I was having this conversation with my manager about like, I just went back to work from maternity leave, my second maternity leave, and collectively I've had 2.5 years that I haven't worked.
Never worked,
right? Yeah. I've just been taking care of my kids. I've just been childbearing, taking care of my kids. So that's 2 years that I've lost.
Missed opportunities
to grow, to go into like higher positions or whatever. And we're having this conversation about like what could be an avenue that I can maybe take at work in order to kind of try to make up that time, try to get some expertise and make up that time, right? So career is a huge one.
It's a huge one,
right? Because if you are a career-driven person, it might be cause for you to decide that you don't want to have kids. Yes, in that sense, people might say, "Oh, you're being selfish" or whatever. But again,
how are you being? Well, I guess exploring this concept of being selfish because you don't want to have kids. Because some people could also say that the reasons why people want to have kids are in and of themselves selfish.
Right.
Because it's all about, I wanted to have kids. I wanted children. They had nothing to do with the child. You know what I mean? So that in and of itself is selfish. So either way.
Or even the idea of legacy.
That's selfish too, because you're just thinking about,
I just want to leave my business to somebody else.
That's what I'm saying.
So it shouldn't,
regardless of if the person likes it or not.
There's selfishness there, right?
Exactly. So let's toss the selfish thing aside. That's nonsense.
A big one is the state of the world, right? Especially for, and I can't even say especially for Christians. Like there's people who just like, have you seen the world? The nonsense that we're having to deal with.
Oh boy.
Why would I want to bring a child into that?
Yeah.
So that's so loaded. But
you know, I saw something on Instagram again. I saw something. Clearly, I spent a lot of time on Instagram. I saw something where they said that people don't be afraid to have kids at this time because God chose to bring them into this world for such a time as this. You saw that too?
Yes.
I saw that and I was like, oh, hitting some nerves.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Like 100%. That God will always have a plan for his creation. Like always. You know, in the last days, he'll pour out his spirit. You know, we all know that. And I feel like God will always protect his own, right? We get that. And I think there's nothing new under the sun. Times like this have always been times like this. Yeah. It just seems like right now, just in your face a lot, whatever. But there's been a lot. Sodom and Gomorrah,
but
was doing a lot. Yeah. But I think because we're now, we don't see that. We didn't live then.
We didn't live then. That's true.
Right. So there was things that they were dealing with too, but God still brought people out of that season to do his will.
Well, let me ask you something. If you currently, I know that Israel/Palestine conversation is very touchy. I know. Don't come for us. I'm not here
to pick a side.
We're not here picking sides. Although I do have one personally, but I'm not going to discuss it here.
Yeah.
Okay. But if I were to live in a war-torn country right now, and I didn't have children,
I would be okay.
I feel like it would be very difficult for me to feel like I should have children right now. You know what I mean? Because, like, for example, if I was in Palestine right now and everything, I don't know about you, but on Instagram, everybody's showing me pictures of children dying, and it's like, would I want to bring a child into a situation that could, you know what I mean? So I see how someone can make a decision to not want to have a child if they lived in a situation like that.
If they lived in the world that we live in.
But it's different though, because if you're in Canada, there's no bombs dropping on us right now.
But there's other things like I don't know, like people don't not wanting to have their kids go to the school systems that we have.
Fair.
The institutions that are, you know, that we have. Kids not wanting to send your kids off. People are homeschooling now because
Halloween. Sorry, I brought up Halloween because I'm like, people not wanting to deal with this conversation of Halloween every year.
Every single year. We're always having the conversation of Halloween every year. What are we doing? Z and I are on the mom group. I think this is the only year that we
didn't bring it up this year. Nobody was like, "Nah, we're not going to talk about this year
because we're done, right?" Because as far as we're
do what you want.
The whole month is Halloween. Yeah, the whole month of October is Halloween. Like Grace would be bringing home pictures of witches,
pumpkins, and witches and ghosts.
Oh yeah. You just pray and cover your child and you send them off because at the end of the day, I don't have the capacity to homeschool.
I can't even imagine. I'm like, what am I gonna do? There's this house near our house that like the place is set up like Zombieville. Every time we go to the park, Kyle wants to stand and he'd be like, "Hey, mommy, zombie, ghost, vampire." He knows all of them. Every day we go to the park, I'm like, child, just in Jesus' name, this house. But anyways, that's a whole other story.
We digress.
So yes, we digress. So
so like, you know,
the state of the world.
People might just think, hey, the state of the world, especially Christians, right?
Yeah.
Like you think, oh, it's wealth.
Yeah. It's going somewhere. I don't want to.
But again, God also has created us for such a time as this with children. Like, and He will do what He wants to do in this time. So I mean, I get it. There's fear, right? And the enemy will bring you all kinds of things to be afraid of, right?
Yeah.
So putting things in perspective and always thinking, okay, we have Jesus, especially as Christians, like we have this. God knows us. Yes, there will be challenges, but however, He will still cover us, right? So that's another reason why people might think, no, I don't want to have kids. Kids are expensive. another one.
Oh my goodness.
We have touched on it, but
this one,
let's just say they're expensive.
Yeah, I believe. If somebody tells me that they don't have kids because they're expensive, I don't even argue with them. I'm like, oh no, I understand. Because your whole budget, like I keep saying that as well, my 9-year-old needs a line in the budget just for his groceries by himself, and everybody else would be together, because it comes to a certain point where all they want to do is eat all day. You know, and it's like, this is expensive. And especially my kids that don't be eating cookies, and they eat cookies and stuff, but then like when they're like, they want snacks, it's like, I want fruits. I want veggies. I want fruits. And fruits are expensive nowadays.
They're expensive. One thing of raspberry is like $4. Yeah. The small one.
The small one, yeah.
Right? And if somebody's sitting in one sitting.
That's one sitting, gone. Costco, the box of grapes was $10.99. In my house, that box of grapes takes 2 days and it's done. 2 days, because all of them would just be there eating the grapes. Oh, mommy, what should I do? Oh, I know. I'm gonna go eat grapes. And it's like, no, go read a book. Like, why did you need to eat? Because you're bored.
Yeah.
You know, so kids are expensive, and then their activities. I remember I used to work at this credit counseling society. I used to deal with debts and helping people manage their budgets. And I remember one time these 2 doctors came in. So doctors are paid well, but they came in needing help with their debts. And so I'm like, why? What's going on? They're making a lot of money. They have 2 sons. Both of them are in competitive skiing in the winter. And then they are in the summertime, they do some sort of other activity. So, but because they're in competitive skiing, guess what? They have to travel. Whistler, BC, Switzerland, Colorado, all these trips just for them to do competitive skiing. It adds up. Next thing you know, you don't even know what to do anymore, because it's like, how can you tell your child, no, not this year? But yeah, I've made up my mind. If it's rough in these streets, I'll say, children, we are cutting. Even like last night, I've managed to register the 3 kids for swimming. It finally worked. I managed to register them.
I was having this conversation with somebody. It's like, it's gone like that.
It was gone. By the time like it was like 9:01, and like 4 sessions were already full. I'm like, how? It just opened a minute ago. How is it all full? I don't understand. But I managed to register them for a swimming pool that's closer to the house and stuff. But even just paying for 3 of them to swim,
that's wild.
I was like,
right?
So where are we getting this money? Where are we getting it? They're expensive.
Like simple, like clothes, especially when they're younger. They're going through all these growth spurts. I can't even think of boys, because they're just like shooting up.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So having to do that all the time, constantly. If you don't have, yes, God will provide, but at the same time, you have to be wise.
You can't just be doing anything.
You can't just be having
just be ordering out all the time just because. No, even like winter clothes. Like, this is the thing that annoys me the most. And we talk about this in our mom group, where it's like, please, what are we doing with mittens that constantly get lost? In our house, we're yelling like every afternoon. Our kids come back, 1 glove is gone. 1 kashku, what do you call this thing?
The neck warmer.
The neck warmer. Oh, we don't know. Hats. And
they all cost money.
And they cost so much money. So every day, where is this hat? So you just spend so much money. Anyway, so if you choose not to have kids because it's expensive, and even like, let's say you like to travel, but you want your whole family to go.
That part, okay.
Sorry,
you want to be able to also have a life after the kids. You're not gonna not have kids and then eyeball to eyeball, like. You look at me, I look at you, like, what is that?
We ain't going nowhere.
We're not going nowhere. Like, if you're like us, who are from back home, you want to show your kids where they're from.
Yeah.
You want to take them on vacation. You want to take them to places. And if you just have just enough, then you're thinking about like, what am I gonna do? right? Yeah. So there's that. Medical reasons we talked about. You know, there's people could be at risk.
Yeah.
That just cannot have it.
Cannot have children because if they do, their lives could be at risk.
Exactly. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's not necessarily. I think that is a little split because it's not necessarily that they don't want to. It's just that their life is in danger. Yeah. If they do so. Right. So there's that. Like, I mean, for me, I didn't know, but I had complications after 34 weeks with both my kids. Right. So if it's either the baby's coming out or your life is at risk, right? You know what I mean? So like thinking about all of those things, like, and some people know that before they even have the kids, and you know, with all the tests and stuff that we have. So there's that. Let's do a couple more. The desire to travel, we said that. Lifestyle. You know, people just don't want to give up their lifestyle.
Yeah.
They don't want to.
Yeah.
You know, as much as it sounds like, what?
No, but it makes sense. Like, imagine now you finish work and you don't have kids and you're just kind of like, you want to go to a patio? Yeah, let's go. And you just go. As opposed to, for me, I was trying to meet up with some friends of ours, and it was end of October. And we're like, okay, when are we going to meet up? How about next weekend? Oh no, this kid has a birthday party. Can't come. Oh, what about the next weekend? Oh no, we have a family shoot that weekend. What about that weekend? Oh no, this kid has another birthday party. Oh, okay, what about this? Oh no, we can't because we have appointments.
The month was
done. Like, it was like the month was done. Yeah. I'm like, so we're not gonna meet up? But we finally managed, like, I don't know what we managed to do, but we managed to squeeze in. So that weekend we had like 3 birthday parties that weekend. It was like, what? 1, 2. Azrael had 1 birthday party, a 2nd birthday party, and then we squeezed the visit in between the 2 birthday parties, and then Maya had one at the end. So it was like a full day of just like driving. So imagine that. Like, you can't even just up and go.
Logistically,
makes no sense. Yeah.
The last 2 is, we talked about this a little bit. Timing. The partner doesn't want to have a kid. You know, you're in a relationship with one just like blatantly, I do not want to have kids.
Please, to those that are not
have
that conversation.
Please.
Why wouldn't you? Yeah, like, why wouldn't you have that conversation? Like, you want to have kids? You don't want to have kids. Like, why would you be shy? It's like, it's an important thing.
It's an important.
You know what I mean?
It's such a. It's a deal breaker.
Yeah, it should be.
You don't want to have kids. I do. Right. I want to be a mom. You're like, I don't want to be a dad, or I don't feel like I want to have kids.
Yeah. Why would you continue on? But then I told you, because some people think that, oh, they can change their mind,
or they're gonna see first kid and it's gonna be like, oh, I love it, and let's have. No, be clear as clear can be with all of that, right from the beginning. And the last one that we have is, this one is interesting. It says family history definition. It says, for some people, their experience, and we talked about legacy, some people's experience as children and their family history has made it clear to them that they don't want to continue their family legacy.
Oh, wow.
They choose to define and create a family different from traditional parents, children model.
Interesting.
So perhaps like Oprah, where she doesn't have one of her own, but she decides, you know,
to have that
school in America, or those 2 girls. Yeah. Some people's definitions are just different, and I think maybe to wrap up, it's like, if you. Yeah, I think more for me is like the shame that is attached to it. I don't know about other cultures, but in our culture,
the deeply melanated
cultures, the communities within the melanation. They be tripping you up.
Yes.
So you haven't had.
When are you?
Mama.
What is happening?
Are
you
dancing? Like,
ele bébé vient quand? That's what they always say. Le bébé vient quand? It's like, okay, stop. Jeez.
Right? Me and my husband have barely looked at each other's face since we got married.
Want to add another,
right? So I think, at least for me, it's like the shame that's attached to it should just stop. And then if you feel like you don't, I feel like you should really do that internal work. Like, why don't you? And kind of deduce those things to make the decision. And if it's just a blatant, I don't want, you don't want.
I think my only advice to people that don't want kids is like you need to just be confident. Like be confident in your reasons why. Because if you start to falter,
then maybe you do.
Yeah, then maybe you're like, I'm not sure.
Maybe you do want kids.
So if you don't want to have kids, like be confident about it and stand for what you believe in. Yeah. And don't let anybody, like you said, don't let anybody pressure you into making those decisions.
Yeah. So that's what we I mean, again, these are always like conversation starters, just to kind of get people thinking about some of these things that we automatically think, oh, this is the way it's supposed to be. To have like real conversations with yourself before you jump into one decision or the other when it comes to like childbearing. So that's what we got.
Thank you guys.
Thanks.
See
you
on
on the
next
other side.
time. Bye.